Hi, lovelies. Welcome back to Spiritual Sleepover with your hosts, Dana and Shayna from DayLuna, and me, Steffi, aka Spirit Sis. This is a very special segment where us besties and girly pop session, we talk about current events or things going on in our lives. We bring up some games. We just kind of like shoot the shit. So, besties, how are you? How are you? What's going on? Tell me
I'm
everything.
doing so good. I'm really happy to be here. I was feeling just now when we were flowing, we always have a problem like hitting record to start these because it's just so fun to see each other. We just vibe and vibe and we're like, oh yeah, we're supposed to be recording right now. So I'm already in the flow zone with you two, feeling full 90s sleepover vibes. Recently we just like took a poll on DayLuna and asked people what were something that you loved doing. What were some of the things you loved doing when you were a kid that you miss as an adult? And someone was said that they loved rearranging their room as a kid. And I just had this like flashback of being in the 90s and like inviting my friends over and rearranging my furniture together and feeling like I just created a whole new chapter of my life. And for some reason, I was just feeling that together right now, like metaphorically rearranging some shit and starting anew. So I'm happy to be here.
Well, because we're going into a new chapter. We're recording this a
Yeah.
bit early because I'm due any day now. I'm literally, baby girl's going to be here literally any day. And then by the time this comes out, Steffi is going to be due shortly thereafter. So it's this new chapter. Like the rooms are being rearranged. Not
Yes.
as fun and nostalgic as like, when we were children, because the room that's being rearranged is like my
Yeah, I don't have
internal
any
organs.
inflatable
And
cushions. Did you guys have those inflatable couches?
Inflatable chairs. Yes, I had a Britney Spears inflatable chair, which is really crazy. Like it was her brand. And inside of it had like little feathers that like would get stuck to the inflatable because it's like a balloon where it has static. And
Oh,
I
I
would
would have
have to like
been so jealous if I went over to your house. Like envy
yeah,
would just
same.
take over me. Like,
and it
can
Our
had
you
an
infl-
ottoman.
our inflatable
can
balloon
you
right
not?
now is like literally our uterus inflating. And our organs are the feathers getting stuck to the sides of our body. Like way
Wow.
less fun, way less cute, like not signed off by Britney. But
What they
maybe,
hear in the amniotic womb is Britney Spears music, at least for my baby.
yeah.
I really wanted to ask you both when you were a kid, remember how they had like a lot of clear stuff in the 90s, like a clear phone,
Yes.
but it was also colored? Did you have like a specific color that was like your signature color at any phase in your life? You're like, I want the clear one, but I want it to be like, for me, it was lime green.
That is so
And
90s. Mine was
it
always
was,
lavender, and it still is. I'm
mm,
wearing like literally a lavender
yeah,
shirt
you're
right
wearing lavender today.
now. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Shannon, did you have a signature color?
Black.
Bitches, you guys know. You guys always
You don't
ask me
remember?
like you guys always ask me questions about my childhood as if it was the same as yours. And then I always have to be like the dun dun dun. That sounds like rich kid shit. Or like that sounds like shit that I did not experience as a kid. So I'm like the one person always, whenever we hang out as friends, you guys are, I always have to bring the like sad blues, and then everyone's like, you didn't have a Tamagotchi, that's so sad. Like,
We
and
were talking about Tamagotchis last time.
I'm not trying to bring the vibes down.
We'll get you
But
an inflatable chair.
I think that I
And a
do
clear
represent
phone.
I represent a big portion of, probably 99.9% of the population who did not have a or clear colored phone or a Tamagotchi. um, but that's just very common in our Western society growing up in the 90s. But, anyways, so I'm representing, not bringing the vibes down. That's my reframe because it's got to be. Otherwise, I feel like I'm the Debbie Downer. So, no, I did not have a clear phone. I had a
Uh-huh.
regular phone though. Like I had a landline.
Did you ever
That
have a signature
Fancy.
color as a kid though?
blue. That was my email address, cutie
Oh,
and blue.
wait, that's kind of crazy because you don't do blue a lot as an adult.
Yeah, I know. I painted my whole room blue. So this is what happened. I wasn't allowed to paint my room or like do anything, whatever, in the house. And so I went with my friends' parents to Home Depot and I picked out a color blue. It's like the worst color blue ever. on like one of the swatches, like
Was it
so
like
dark, like
sky blue?
teal. No,
Oh,
like a teal blue, super
dark
intense.
ocean blue.
And they bought it for me, like my friend's parents, which now going into parenthood, thinking about like buying somebody else's child paint for their bedroom, it
Yes.
sounds like really
Kind of
like
crossing a boundary.
yeah, like they really went there. They really like were
Seemed
bold with
targeted.
that shit. Yeah, and they bought me that paint and I snuck it into my room with my friend Chelsea, and we literally like locked the door, and my parents just thought that we were hanging out in there having a sleepover, and we painted my whole room overnight. And then the next like all
Did you
night.
put down plastic on the ground so that it didn't
No.
spill or anything?
I was like 13. Like I wasn't like
Did you paint the
knowing how
ceiling?
to paint prep. No, I painted just the walls. I mean, obviously I got paint on the ceiling, like super untidy.
Oh my
And then
gosh.
the next morning my mom came to wake us up for school, and she was livid because the whole room was painted blue.
And also you guys
Oh, shit.
like putting yourself in there and like with all
Yeah,
the
in the
fumes.
paint with the fumes. Like, I'm sure you didn't open a window. I'm sure you didn't wash the brush so that the paint
No.
didn't harden on
Nope.
it. Like,
And just
no
sleeping in it.
precautions.
No precautions. And also like I
Maybe that's
didn't
why you
want to
don't have any
rat
memory.
out my friend's parents at all. So
she's
my
like,
mom
"Where
was
did
like,
you get
"Where
this
did you get
paint?"
this paint?" And I'm like, "Don't worry about it." You know, I was like rebellious.
Shayna, Claire, that is
teenager.
such a rebellious move.
Oh yeah, this was when I was like smoking cigarettes in middle school.
Bad girl
and,
phase.
And my bad girl
Scorpio.
phase, like painting my room
Wow.
overnight with the paint my friend's
Wow.
parents bought me.
That is audacious.
Yeah, that memory just like popped out of the
The
memory
ether.
banks of things I forgot. But yeah, so long
Wow.
story, fucking long. Blue. I probably would have had a blue clear phone if that was existing.
Wow. Wow. I'm just full with new information, new stories after that.
I know.
loved
Do you
it.
think any Gen Zers listen to this podcast, or is it all millennials who are like, I got you? Gen Zers are like, bitches, come on.
I don't think we're cool enough for Gen Zers, or at least me personally, and
Same.
maybe you, Shayna. But Steffi, I feel like
Steffi, you're on the brink.
you're cool enough
Yeah.
for Gen Z.
How? What qualifies me to be cool enough to be accepted by Gen
I don't
Z?
know. Like, you
I
know
don't
how
know.
to do a good voiceover on a TikTok. Like,
Yeah.
you know how to like dress in a way that's like not cringy. And also,
Yeah.
you know what
Unlike
words are
us.
now cringy and like is cringy cringe maybe.
You taught me the word chuggy. You taught me a lot of new slang. So I'm
which I
going to
think
say
that
you're.
word is now gone.
That's out.
Oh,
It's Riz now.
darn
You got
it.
Riz.
Yeah, see,
Yeah.
it's because you watch TikTok. TikTok
Yeah,
keeps you
I don't know if it's a
in
compliment.
the
TikTok
the
keeps
Z.
you young.
I
Yeah.
scroll too much. Yeah, it's like you're so like in with the times because you don't have any relevant friends or any like real talk with people. Only
Yeah.
my information is from TikTok.
Well, Shayna and I, for anyone listening, literally don't have TikTok. I'm afraid to get it because I just don't want to like. And
I
you
got it
didn't
just to
consult
watch.
me first.
Listen, I just got it to watch certain videos, but I haven't like scrolled, and like I don't even have an algorithm where it's like giving me certain things. Like I just use it barely, and I've used it mainly to watch Spirit Sis's TikToks.
Hey, thanks.
Because they're just so great. And if you don't follow Spirit Sis on TikTok and you have TikTok, you should head over there and follow her because your videos are so entertaining and I love them and I love watching them. And sometimes we're featured and I'm like, oh my gosh, who is that? That's us. And it feels really fun. So
Thanks for the plug. TikTok's really fun. And also I find it really fascinating to connect with different generations because there's also like Gen X and boomers on there that have great content. And I love just absorbing everyone and what they have to say, especially if it's like a current event. Like you actually do feel like the algorithm helps you get good information. I don't know.
Yeah. I feel that sometimes about my Instagram ads, I'll be like searching, Googling, like I want clothing that is like organic linen and I want it to be like a female owned business. I'm like Googling all those things, can't find it. And then my algorithm just brings me in the ad of something that I actually did want. And it's like, I was actually looking for that. And so now I kind of feel supported by it instead of targeted. you know, which I also feel targeted in the same breath, but I also
But
feel
it's also
supported.
scary because you're like, are they seeing what I'm writing? Like, oh my God, it would
No.
be diabolical if they could see my like search history. It like shows my mental illness in real time. But same, or I'll be talking to like you or like Shayna on the phone or
Yeah.
something, and then it's all of
It
a sudden the ad.
listens. It listens with your speaker. That is a fact. And when you say, like, even the other day, I've never Google searched an anklet before, but I was with my sister and she was wearing an anklet. And I was like, oh my gosh, Lindsay, that's such a cute anklet. And she's like, thanks. Zoe got me this anklet. And then I opened my phone. It's like ad for anklets. Anklet? Am I that word? I said it too many times.
Yeah, I know.
Feels wrong.
No,
like
I
an
know.
amulet.
Anklet,
It sounds
anklet.
honestly kind of like spiritual.
Anklet.
And deep.
It's
Yeah,
nothing like
anklet.
the amber necklace. Throwback.
I feel so supported by them listening to me. I genuinely feel like, oh, thank God, because I didn't want to have to
Because
search
no
this
one
thing.
else listens to
And
me.
Literally. I feel seen.
My husband never
recognized.
cares when I tell him what I want, but my Instagram does every
I
time.
have a projector recognition by my FBI guy.
He cares about me
seen.
so much. He's always listening.
Yes.
There actually are like TikToks of women
taking
going up
my
to their
insight.
husband's phones and being like diamond, oval cut,
Yes.
platinum. Like,
and I thought that this morning because I was messaging with my husband's coworker's wife, super random, but she posted this thing that was like how it feels trying to get away from toxins currently, and it was like all these like big ass SUVs like chasing you in a little toy car, and all the SUVs were like microplastics and like seed
Forever
oils
chemicals.
and you know things that are just in our everyday shit. And so I responded like 100%, and then she said, makes me want to live in a different country. And I was literally thought to myself like, oh, I hope she starts getting ads for homes in like Europe and Italy, because then maybe Brian's work will move to Europe, because there's multiple people wanting to move there. Like literally, I feel grateful for the algorithm because yeah, one conversation at a time, we're just gonna start seeing more of that thing. But that also is a reminder to like only talk about shit you want, because if you are talking about shit that you don't want, you're gonna be constantly seeing and reinforcing that mindset of that negative shit. Even if it's like real and valid, you're gonna constantly be seeing like that thing that's gonna trigger that wound that then you're thinking about, and then you're perpetuating it, and then it's reinforcing the story. So I'm trying to talk about like villas in Italy and, you know, which hotels are the best hotels to stay in Greece.
Luxury hotel, lapis ring with like whatever I just want, right?
yeah,
Exactly. Yeah.
I like it. I like it.
Anyways, welcome to the spiritual sleepover.
they
What
really
are we
dropped
talking
it in the
about
middle
today?
of the convo. So.
What are we talking about today? Who wants to go first with their current event that they bring to the table?
I'll go.
Okay.
So something I've been thinking about a lot lately, and something I've been seeing on my algorithms, is actually the shift of mental health awareness. And we're recording this in Mental Health Awareness Month. But I've just noticed, as someone who like grew up with anxiety and had a lot of like mental health issues that were pretty much like shoved to the side, like, oh, you're just being dramatic or you're oversensitive and stuff. I've seen the mainstream media go more and more towards like kind of bringing more awareness to this to the younger generations. And so I saw the Pixar movie Inside Out 2 recently. You've seen Inside Out 1, right?
Yeah, I have, but I haven't seen Inside Out 2, but I saw that you saw it recently.
And I haven't seen Inside Out 1. I need to.
You haven't?
I know. I've been
really
waiting
good.
to watch it with Brian, and then we're like never in the mood for cartoons.
So it's one of the most, in my opinion, cerebral, profound movies about human emotions. And when I saw the first movie, I was blown away. I thought about it for literally months, years. I still think about it. And I've seen it multiple times. Every time I watch it, it brings out, because it's about feelings. And, you know, as someone of me, you know,
emotional wave girlies.
It's about, but it's also about like anger and sadness and all the development that you have. And it follows a young girl and her emotions inside her head. I just got chills. So as I was writing my screenplay, my second screenplay, I started to follow the screenwriter. So this goes a little bit deeper for me. She, her name's Meg LaFave. and she's incredible. The reason she kind of like started to they brought her on little later. So they already had the story concept, but her son has autism and like for a while in his life like wasn't very vocal. He was like nonverbal. And so she'd always wonder like what was going on inside his head. And he would have these I keep getting chills. And he would
Oh.
have these bursts of emotions, right? Like sadness and anger and it would be really extreme. So she brought that light to it. And so and Inside Out 2, and I'm not giving too much away. You can see it. It's probably still out when I'm talking about this, or you should definitely watch the first one. The second one follows these new characters that come in because she's going through puberty, and anxiety is the biggest new character. And so
Oh,
I walked away from that movie feeling like, wow, the awareness that this is bringing to little kids and adults alike. Because, I didn't see a lot of anxious people in movies growing up. It was so dramatized. Like, you saw Cuckoo's Nest, like in
right,
1970s. You saw
right,
what other movies? Like As Good as It Gets. Do you remember like
right.
the
He
personification
has
of
OCD.
OCD?
Right, but it's
And
like the
yes,
most extreme kind of like put on like a caricature version, but it was like revolutionary at that time because it's bringing that into the conversation at that, 1990 or whatever that movie came out.
right. And it
Literally
wasn't a
the
big
only
thing.
movie. Right.
Because a lot of the generations before us, swept a lot of stuff under the rug. And now I feel like millennials and even Gen Zs, we're really trying to be more open and vulnerable with how we're feeling. And we're trying to fix in this new paradigm, like fix how this is portrayed. And
Right.
so I've just been thinking about how, because I obviously am a screenwriter and I love movies and I love film. And so my news is like talking about how anxiety is being portrayed now in mainstream media, how it makes me feel so seen and
Yeah.
makes me feel like, wow, I wish I had this growing up because I felt like I would have had such a different experience if I knew what anxiety is, that you can't control it. And then
Right.
Inside Out too, the one of the lines that like I just started breaking down sobbing, and I went with my girlfriend Erica and we both grabbed each other and we're just like holding each other sobbing. Anxiety was like, all I was doing was trying to protect you. It's
Mhm.
like, oh, you could hear the pin drop in the theater because anxiety is good for some things.
Right.
And also overthinking situations can be bad if you trying to like get that control. So anyway, I thought it was really interesting to look back and think about like movies that touched me. And I felt like there's some level of spiritual awareness there or mental health
Totally.
awareness there. I don't know. So that's just kind of where I'm
Absolutely.
coming right now.
Yeah, and the other one for me too, more recently was Soul by Disney Pixar.
So
Like
good.
the themes in that one, I was like, I'm kind of so proud of humanity for this story being told to children, but also to their parents who are watching it along with them. And it's so true the way that our world has changed. I mean, that's the crazy thing about being millennials and being the generation that is Pluto and Scorpio, like to see the way that things have changed so much in our lives, being the generation that remembers before the internet and then when the internet was coming up and then the after effect, being the generation where mental health and speaking about our emotions and our sexuality and kind of the conditioning around all of those things are being brought to the surface and those old patterns and systems are being broken. Like we chose the generation of Pluto and Scorpio, like chose to come in a really powerful time. And it's cool to think about that because I remember being a kid and being like, I chose the most boring generation to be alive in. I was
Really?
always like, yeah, because I was really influenced by like the hippie, when we were like kids, we were wearing
Oh.
bell bottoms and I was listening to a lot of that music and being from the Bay Area where they had like the Monterey Pop Festival in San Francisco and tie dye and the Summer of Love. Like I just remember thinking, my generation and my era is so boring, like nothing's happening. I remember thinking that a lot as a kid. And so it's cool to be in this point now where like with anxiety and just all of the different terminologies that we're understanding, codependency is a brand new word. Boundaries is a brand new word, which that shit's crazy because those are like the backbone of how we navigate our lives with healthy mental health and awareness. But they're like brand new in the collective consciousness as far as like being used in commonplace and not just by like psychologists or therapists.
Even anxiety, like that, we didn't even have that term when I was growing up, that you were anxious. Like I literally went to the doctor so many times thinking I was having a heart attack, and then they're like, "No, you're just you're having a panic attack." It's like,
It's like,
What?
why? And they're like, no reason. It'll go away.
Same. Yeah, and I would black out and drive myself to the hospital in a full-blown panic attack, and no one could explain why. I was like, "Oh, something's is it your blood pressure? Is it this or that?" It was
Your
always
heart.
had to be explained. And meanwhile,
Yeah.
it's like, no, I just had big feelings, big emotions, needed to talk them out. And I think, yeah, I think the generations before us, and that's why I love astrology, because you see the Pluto, boomers have Pluto and Leo, and there's so many good things they did for us, right? Like paving the way, but there's also a lot of things they did to sweep things under the rug and not acknowledge our feelings and our emotions. And so I just found that so interesting that now, I mean, we're really, really bringing this up to kind of like, I don't know, desensitize it or just
Mm-hmm.
bring awareness to it for everybody. And that destigmatizing that it's okay that all of us do, like, mental health is important to
The
prioritize.
Well,
most,
even the term
absolutely.
mental health was not a thing. So I feel like, you know, it's interesting, the millennials, our generation, are so malleable because we were like pre-internet and post-internet, and we remember the time when things were a little bit more simpler, but then we've also been thrust into the chaos of like so many world events happening that are super crazy, um and life changing. And so we've had catastrophe after catastrophe, but also we remember what it was like without that. And so I feel like we're really malleable where we can adapt and change and learn, like, oh, okay, this is now a new term. Like, it's okay to be fluid. It's okay to, whatever the thing is, we're really adaptable. Whereas maybe the generations before us aren't so much. They're more like, this is how things are. This is how things work. These are the terms that I say. And if you don't like it, then you're, a snowflake or this or that or whatever. Like, there's always a term that's very defensive to try to justify not having to be malleable or flexible or change or whatever the thing. But my point is that we're just at the tip of the iceberg when it comes to
Mm.
mental health and
So
understanding our mental
true.
health and understanding our emotional health and what that really looks like. And every single day, we're so connected to information from all over the world. And that's just going to keep growing exponentially as it has, that we're going to keep getting new terms and new discoveries and spreading more awareness around what's normal or what is um I don't even want to say normal, because lately that word normal has been feeling like gaslighting vibes to me, where people will
Yeah.
just
Because
like,
it's like, what is normal? Like
and
literally,
also
what
like,
is normal?
just because something's normal doesn't mean it's okay, doesn't mean
Uh-huh.
it's
Right.
comfortable, doesn't mean um it's something that you should just accept and then just never talk about again or just sweep under the
Right.
rug. Like, I've really been observing how people will tell you that's normal, and that's their way of shutting you down or
And
sweeping it under the
saying,
rug.
don't
It's like,
question it.
just because it's
It's
normal, like, who gives a fuck? This is happening. This is an
it needs to
experience.
not be normal.
Right.
Which have
Exactly.
you heard that phrase? I can't remember it exactly, but it's like being well adjusted in a society that's sick is not a compliment. Like
Yeah.
it's not a good
Mm.
thing to be well
Mhm.
adjusted to a society that is dysfunctional.
Yeah.
Like if it's dysfunctional and you're well adjusted to that dysfunction, you're dysfunctional because you're
Yes.
allowing something that is normal to be okay with you. And then that becomes, it creates the energy that is in your personal life because you're adjusting to instead of fixing that thing that is dysfunctional
Which
externally.
I've always felt the same way with the word behaved. Like, when people
Yeah,
say
that
like,
word
that child
triggers
is
you.
so well behaved, it's like, behaved like to who? To whose
Says the girl
rules?
who painted her room blue in the middle of the night with her mom. Like,
Well, it's
who's
just like,
well behaved now?
but it's like, why is that a good thing to
It's
be well
yeah,
behaved?
it's
Like, you're
societal
behaving like you're
pressure.
performing for your
Mhm.
parents or your grandparents. Like, you
Or
have
like,
to put on this performance to be accepted into your family. Just feels
yeah.
like bullshit. But my main point was saying all of the, like, how we're just at the tip of the iceberg, is that I really see, as we move into this new paradigm, that there's going to become like more and more and more languaging, to where it feels like you're not putting yourself in a category of, I have anxiety or I have
Mhm.
OCD or I have ADHD. You're putting yourself in a category of like, I'm Shayna and I'm having Shayna's experience, because the more terms that we come up with, we're all, you know, throughout the next 50 years, we're going to have like, I have this and I have this and I have this and I have this and I have this. We're going to have like 20 different, or maybe even more, 100 different, you know, boxes that we're putting ourselves into, to where it becomes so many boxes that it's like just as unique as our human design, or just as unique as our astrology, where you're identifying then as yourself versus, and fully accepting yourself because you've gone on the journey of giving language to all the different facets of yourself. But it's no longer a problem to be solved. It's no longer a thing to have to identify with to feel belonging or to feel normal. It's something that, or to be well adjusted, right? It's something that is just known, like, yeah, of course I have all these things. I'm Shayna. This is my frequency, and they're not problems. They're just a part of me, and I can work with them and play with them and learn from them and share them with the world. So I do think we're moving in that direction. It's just we're right at the tip of the iceberg where it's like, throw me in that box, and now I feel like I have a sense of belonging. Now I feel like I have a sense of understanding. Now I feel like I have a, you know, I don't want to say excuse,
community,
but
sometimes too,
community,
like a community of people.
Things that bringing up Pluto and Aquarius, this new generation that's coming in. You said community, and you said like different ways of thinking. That's this new generation of kids that are growing up. It's going to be so different, so innovative. And I think that's like the conversation is going to be more open with that. And especially for thinking, oh, sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, no, I was just going to ask, why do they call them Generation Alpha? Do we know? Like how this is like Generation Z, and then that's going to be Generation Alpha?
Well, they have Pluto and Capricorn.
Z to A.
Oh, Alpha is Pluto and Capricorn, not Pluto and Aquarius.
Yeah. Well, I do the generations by astrology, but
by
I don't
Pluto.
know who picks. Like,
which I think that's the highest truth of what it really is.
Well,
and then humans try to catch up, and they're like, there tends to be these trends we don't know why, but collectively.
And it just happens to be the exact transit of when Pluto moved into the new sign. Like, are you kidding me?
There's definitely a cabal of like people who are just like astrology nerds, but then they're pretending that they don't
pretending to be scientists. Like, we'll wait until people are ready to tell them what we're really doing.
They've used astrology for thousands of years. And they're like, we're just going to call it Gen Alpha because it's like, no. This is
random.
Gen Alpha, Capricorn, the top of the chart. Let's think about this. And then also Gen Z, Gen X, which I didn't mention, and something to just throw it back. I think they've had the hardest time because they have a lot of their Pluto is in Libra or Virgo, being of service, being diplomatic. So they
and
really
people pleasing,
respect the elders, want to people please the elders, but they also really respect the younger people's opinions and progression and things like that. So that's why I think it's just really interesting, this conversation. And walking away from that movie, I just felt like this shift in my whole being of being like, I'm proud to be here. I'm proud that I saw that movie. I'm proud that children are seeing that movie. And there's even a scene where she has a full-blown panic attack, and like you can feel the tension. And like, for someone who has suffered from panic attacks like my entire life, I was just like, wow, I've never seen this portrayed in a children's movie, no less. So anyway, walking away from that was just such a beautiful, insightful experience. Highly recommend seeing the movie, the first one or the second one. And also start to pay attention to how your thinking and conversations around mental health are going, even how it's portrayed in media or how you feel about it. And again, I love that you said, Shayna, like you don't have to identify with, I have OCD, I have this mental illness. It's what makes you who you are. But I just feel seen and heard and excited that the conversation's going in the direction of being more open.
Totally. I am so grateful for it. I'm like, that's why we're here in this time. And also I feel excited about where we're headed, where it's like, of course we have to go on the journey of labels and boxes and putting ourselves in there. But then for me, it's always about, okay, when is this helpful? And then when is it actually debilitating? Like I'm using this label as an excuse to not be empowered in my life, or to not heal, or to not, be a good partner, or a good, go after my dreams. Like, so I do see that there is a fine line between, community and awareness and being empowered with information in mental health, and slipping into then the other side of like, this is now my crutch. I don't go after my dreams because I have ADHD and I could never build a business, even though a lot of business owners have ADHD and they're incredible entrepreneurs. But there is this line that we tend to slip into. And I think it comes out of a place of not fully loving ourselves and not fully knowing ourselves, and taking some outside authority as our law and our, like, they know more than me, so I'm just going to subscribe to whatever my doctor's telling me, or whatever, the parameters of what fits within the box of this mental thing. And now that's going to control my life versus my own authority. I definitely think, and we were just talking about this yesterday, breath work literally has healed my anxiety. Like, of course I still have anxiety, but I don't have panic attacks anymore. I'm not so easily triggered by bugs or by crumbs in the crack or by these things that would literally send me on a full-blown spiral just by doing breath work, just by using the breath in my body. And that to me is mind-blowing, because it's like, I'm sorry, this wasn't a medication that I needed. This wasn't something that I even had the intention of going into breath work. I just did a few breath work experiences, and my body and my nervous system brought up the things that I needed to heal, and literally healed them, like healed them in my life. And it's so crazy to me that we can either give our power away and not even realize that we're doing it because it has that sense of community and belonging, or finally feeling seen for once, and that feels so good. Or we can choose to, like, okay, what part of this is empowering me? Great. It might be medication. It might be going to specialists. It might be whatever. Or it might be literally just breathing breath in your body, and like you can heal these things and release the stories. So I guess my main thing that I've been reflecting on lately, and maybe it's part of my pregnancy journey, I'm not sure, but is like, what are the things that I'm choosing to subscribe to, that I'm making a part of my experience and I'm feeding into, whether that's conscious or subconscious. And I then write it off as part of my circumstance or part of who I am or part of whatever. And what are the things that I'm choosing to then instead empower myself around? Like, the line between empowerment and
Validation.
and validate. I want to say, like, the line between empowerment and like belonging. Like I think there is like a toxic side of belonging. And
Totally. Are you
like
kidding?
what I was saying with the word behave, like there's a toxic
Yeah.
side of belonging.
The part of our nervous system that wants to fawn is also to keep us safe, because belonging keeps you safe biologically. So there's absolutely a part of us that wants to belong with that community. And so we identify with this crutch that then is actually holding us back from our individual growth. And we can definitely, so many people, they don't follow their authority. They stay in a marriage that's not right for them because they don't want to go on that individual journey and not have that sense of belonging, because it feels physically unsafe in our bodies. So it's like a huge act of bravery to not allow like toxic belonging into our life, but then to not go on the other side of that, where we have toxic independence and, toxic individuality where we don't care about other people. It's like finding that balance and that flow between the two.
Yeah. And I think that that's been coming up with this pregnancy journey, because I'm seeing it in a whole new light of like, the word normal literally is about belonging. Like, it's normal. Other people experience this. You now belong in this group. And so you don't question it, right? Even with things like, I've seen people posting, rarely that they feel, overwhelmed and stretched by how, like, the pregnancy face, like how your face can change in pregnancy, like literally showing before and afters of like me before pregnancy and then me during pregnancy, and literally their face looks so different. And then after pregnancy, it goes back to how it was before. And so many people commenting like, this is toxic, like this is body shaming, this is, this is normal. Like, everybody's face changes. Like, you're growing a human. You should be proud of that. Like, you should not say that. You should just be grateful that you can be pregnant, that you can have life. And then a few comments, which I was searching for, because I'm like, that something isn't right here, is that you're allowed to have feelings about your own body without somebody saying that it's normal, so don't have those feelings. Like, it's normal, so don't question it, or don't express how you feel, or don't, like body positivity is literally you being the authority of your body and you being able to express yourself through your body. So it's like telling someone to not have insecurities or to not have reflections on their own experience is literally you trying to be the authority over them. So that way they belong in the category of motherhood, pregnancy, just reinforce the same narrative that it's normal. So don't talk about it and there's so many things that I've been observing that women go through that we still, as women, reinforce within each other to not talk about because it's normal or because maybe it's going to shame some other woman by you talking about your own personal experience. And in my experience and observations, anytime that you talk about your own personal experience from your own lens, it always creates more space and more liberation for other people to feel seen and explore their own personal experiences versus trying to shut it down and put themselves in a box. So anyways, that was a really long rant. I'm like out of fucking breath because I'm so pregnant. But that theme, empowerment versus belonging, it's really showing up right now in my life. And there's so many ways that I am discovering that we face those two things subtly. And
like they have to be one or the other.
Yeah.
Right. But the truth is, when you are empowered in your own truth, you come into a higher state of belonging that is a really beautiful state. And that's what's interesting about literally all this whole conversation that we're having is, these labels are helpful to help you understand that you are on the autism spectrum or have ADHD, but at what point is it no longer helpful? Belonging is something that is important and necessary in our lives for our health and well-being, but at what point is it then toxic? Astrology or human design are some of the most powerful tools that can support us in our true north, but at what point can they be manipulated to where they are toxic and no longer healthy? Being honest about our bodies and our insecurities and the emotions that don't feel good, that are maybe ickier or more uncomfortable for people to hear is so important. But at what point does then it become toxic and you live and you get stuck in that place and hold on to it? Like all of these things, we're talking about all of the shades of gray. And I think that is something, the shades of gray are something that have been really uncomfortable for people in the past. And it's like, has to be black or white because that's what's easy. And we're coming into all of the different shades of gray. And we're in this point with mental health, with our sexuality, with our gender, etc., where we're trying to give labels to all of the different shades of gray. In between, we're like this shade of gray versus that shade of gray versus that shade of gray, but they're all that one shade that is then a spectrum. And something I wanted to share that I think is so fascinating. I'm really a big fan of this painter named Alex Grey, and he does all of these like visionary paintings that are very like trippy and cosmic and really beautiful. And his very first painting that brought him into his spiritual journey, he had this vision of like sort of like the yin and yang symbol with the black and the light, the dark and the light, but then there's the dark in the light and the light in the dark in that yin and yang symbol. He had this different version of it where it's actually not a hard line between the black and white. It's a gradient that shows you that the black and white is actually a spectrum. And he realized that in his own journey through trying to label things between black and white or even shades of gray, that he was really losing himself, and instead to see that black and white are connected and that everything that is polarized or duality in this world is actually a spectrum that's interconnected. It's not even one side of either coin where there's the two sides that are opposing. It's actually this spectrum where they are completely interconnected. And exploring those shades of gray and seeing everything as a spectrum, I think is so important, because things become unhealthy when they are not, when we're seeing it this or that, or, only this much for so long, or this thing is always good and that thing is always bad. It's always, anytime that we're labeling that, I feel like we create divisiveness and we create separation. And when we can explore the gray areas that are complex and diluted and have many different perspectives and truths, I feel like that's actually so much more enlightened. It's just harder to do. It takes more conversations and more space in our minds to think about. And only when you're at a certain point of spiritual evolution do you even have the space to explore those shades of gray. If you're just focusing on other things, you literally don't even have the space. And, thinking about generations that have had it hard, like we can hate on boomers all we want. We can hate on, whoever, but it's like, if you think about their circumstances and where we were in the collective evolution, you'll understand why people didn't have the space. They did not have the consciousness. They did not have the bandwidth to explore these deeper parts of themselves, these shades of life that we are getting the opportunity to explore now. So, I mean, it's really interesting to feel that too, I think.
And just didn't have the information to explore that. Like
Right.
the fact that we don't have to go to the library and pull out an encyclopedia that was written by somebody in the fucking 30s to get our information, like that is huge, right? They just didn't have the information. And of course, we live in such a privileged space where we live and the lives that we lead, and the fact that we're not just struggling to survive, like speaking we meaning the three of us on this call. So it is definitely a privilege to be able to have these types of conversations and to dive into all these shades of gray. I definitely think that moving into the new paradigm, it's all about the complexities of the grays and everything in between, and really fleshing it out. And everyone is doing their part wherever they are in the world, even if they're in, a country that is torn apart by war, even if they're in, extreme poverty. The fact that we can share information between somebody who is a celebrity and somebody who is literally in poverty and experiencing homelessness, and we can share that human experience. Everyone is doing their part towards contributing towards the collective consciousness of all of those complexities and shades of gray, whether they have conscious awareness of it or not, right? Just by going online to this huge internet that we've all created, this consciousness that we've all created and are contributing to, we are contributing to the collective consciousness and fleshing out those shades of gray, whether we have that intention or not. So I'm really grateful that I'm privileged enough to have conversations like these, to then dive into the fucking super heady, like spiritual fucking nerd rabbit hole of all of these things. But every single human on this planet, every single soul and frequency on this planet is contributing to the collective consciousness, whether they mean to or not. We're headed towards that new paradigm. Things are going to be getting fleshed out emotionally and mentally and physically, and honestly less physically, meaning less physical structures, because now we're moving into more of this spiritual era versus, the age of industry and all of that shit.
And you think about just how resourceful everyone is with this information. I mean, sometimes I get mad at myself, like, God, I'm just a consumer. All I do is take in information all day long. But even you bringing up like how breath work has helped you, like, who knows how you would have found that without connecting with people in the community or online. Like, same with me with somatic exercises. Like, it's calmed down my nervous system completely. And so this information age, this spiritual age, this consciousness, it's just so beautiful that we're all having, like you said, privileged to be having these conversations, and how we can notice those polarities, dualities, and how we can I find the gray. I kind of like that. That's the new tagline.
Totally.
Yeah, find the gray. Fuck being behaved, find the gray.
And to see that everything is a spectrum has been really helpful for me. To see like everyone's on the autism spectrum because it's a spectrum. Everyone's on the bisexuality spectrum because it's a spectrum. And it takes away that like me versus you that I think has, the powers that be have been trying to promote, trying to keep alive. And like that shit's got to go. It is never me versus you. It is never black versus white. Like it is all individual empowerment, and then the collective unity that comes from that. And like you can see it in every little facet, from TikTok to the movies that are being made to the podcasts that are being spoken, all of that stuff. So I really love it. That was a good share, Steffi. That brought us down a whole journey.
Because there's so much. Go ahead.
I just wanted to say, I just want to plant the seed for any of our listeners. If there's any area in your life that you feel like that tightness show up of like wanting to control someone else, whether that is with, what other people should be doing with their bodies, or what other people should be doing with the medications or the vaccines that they take, or what other people should be doing with their sexuality, if they're trans or if they're not, or whatever, like in the spiritual community, we see like, and as we're evolving, we see a lot of spiritual people trying to box in and control of like, nope, this is wrong, this is right, this is, trying to control other people. And at the end of the day, if you feel that tightness come up because it's something new, it's something changing, and now you feel like that desire that you need to dictate and be somebody else's authority, I want to just invite you to feel into that and to breathe into that and to find where in your body that's coming from and what place of belonging are you seeking or trying to force upon others. And also, where do you maybe feel like you don't get to be your own authority in that space, and how can you show self-love to yourself versus trying to force your authority over other people? Because I definitely think that as we have the crumbling, we also have the rising. And in this same conversation, there's so many people who, yes, on one side, they're helping people in all of these amazing ways. And then on the other side, fear pops in and they're really wanting to control and be the authority over. So individual authority is the main message here. And if you're feeling the need to control other people, really looking at your own individual authority and coming back to that, because that is the only thing that matters. So it just reminded me with you saying that, Dana, of like, it's all a spectrum. It's all an individual thing. How much I've seen in this shift as we're shifting, spiritual leaders being like, this is wrong, this is right, define, just so many
sometimes
things.
like really shocking things I'm shocked by. And that's been confusing for me, confronting for me. Like I used to think like, okay, if you're spiritual, I put in quotes, you're always going to think in this way and always be accepting, always be loving, always be compassionate. And then I'm seeing people who are spiritual leaders and then they're like not doing that. And it's like, whoa, what? And it's kind of like, okay, another thing about being in this age of endless information is that there are less checks and balances about what can be shared. And it means that you need to be even more discerning about what you're taking in and who you're listening to. And you need to be your own boss on how open-hearted you are. If you're being kind and respectful to other people in the things that you're creating, like it's up to you to check yourself because no one else is going to do it for you. And it's up to you to check that discernment level on like the other people that you're listening to. And that can be scary because we're used to having, used to in the old paradigm, having other people do it for you. Like they're going to read through the encyclopedia first and approve that everything in there is true. And that system doesn't exist anymore. And so now you can Google some shit that is incorrect, like not factual. And like, even, I don't even know what to believe anymore. Like I literally take everything with a grain of salt. I'm like, do octopuses have 8 stomachs? Like I Googled it, but like who wrote that account?
Mind. Like I will read anything and believe it within seconds. And that'll be my new authority. Like that'll be like, yep, I have 4 heads. Like that's the truth.
Yeah. And then the next day I'll read something completely opposite and I'll be like, oh, never mind. This is actually the thing. Completely came in and out of the window. The window's open. So
that's so funny.
Hilarious.
I love it.
That was a beautiful conversation. I'm really happy we got to share that.
Oh, your mic just got so loud.
Yeah,
but
and like different sounding.
But I loved it. That was a beautiful conversation. And I am really glad that we got to share that.
Yeah. Okay. So Dana, was there anything else current event? Did we
I brought something. I brought something to the table. It's kind of a whole new topic. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Do we have time and space? I mean, it's like a whole, okay, cool. So
it better be well behaved.
It is well behaved, actually. But just kidding. Steffi, do you need to check your mic? How are you feeling over there?
Oh,
that sounds great.
Okay, I'm scared.
You're scared to talk.
I saw your face. You looked like, what's happening to me right now?
No, it's crazy because I just got so excited and like basically tit bumped my mic. So the microphone like fell off.
You tit bumped it?
Yeah, tit bumped.
Oh.
These little Franken boob pregnancy boobs I have.
I know.
I want to know I want to know the funniest things that you guys have knocked over with your bellies, like your pregnant belly bump.
Oh,
nothing.
Like, have you knocked anything over?
My self-esteem.
For real.
Like
no,
nothing physical.
The most frustrating thing for me is washing my face every night and every morning because my belly sticks out so far that I can't get my face close enough to the sink.
Yeah.
To where like I create a pool of water on the counter that then drips onto the floor, onto my fucking feet, and my belly's soaked. And I'm like
Yeah.
in a crunched over position trying to get
Mhm.
as close as I can, but then literally I'm like out of breath just trying to wash my freaking face. And Brian's just like, he's just looking at me like he loves me, but I know it's like I'm a mess. Like I'm a literal mess. Like there's water everywhere, every morning, every night, all over my belly. Like I have to be conscious to not get dressed before I wash my face, because then otherwise
otherwise
my
you'll be drenched.
exactly.
Oh,
So
that's
Yeah,
pretty
that's
good.
the same for me
there's
for
that.
putting in contacts because I can't see. 'Cause I'm so far
Oh,
away
you're
from the
so far
mirror.
Yeah.
from the mirror.
And so I'm like trying to just stab my eyeball with the contact, and yeah, my belly's in the way, so I really can't get close because I didn't
Yeah.
realize how close I would get to do it.
Yeah, you don't
Right.
realize like the convenience of getting close to something that is taken away, especially close to like a mirror that is taken away by this belly. And I've seen so many things that are like, men who have beer bellies, like how are they doing this?
That's
Like
so
all the time. Like
true.
they don't get close enough to
Well, it's
put
squishy.
contact in.
Their bellies are squishy. We have
I
like
know
That's
some
hard
no,
sacks.
but I've met some beer bellies that are firm exactly like a pregnant
My
belly.
dad's was. My dad's was hard.
My dad's friend, my dad didn't have like a big beer belly, but his friends I've touched before and they are hard. Like
You
if you
touched
could
my
Yeah.
dad's friend's belly?
yeah, like when I
You
was
wanna get into
little.
that or no?
Like a poke, right? Not like
No,
a
I don't
snuggle.
wanna
Is there
talk
anything you
about
can
it.
do?
I'm just
Okay,
kidding.
we won't uncover that next episode.
But yeah, no,
Um,
my dad's belly was so firm and hard.
Firm.
He would always
Yeah.
joke that it's his pregnant belly.
Pregnant belly.
And now I'm like, how are you
What was in
existing?
there?
But I mean, he wasn't washing his face every morning and night, right? Like,
Or putting in
or
contacts.
putting in contacts. So I think
So that's
if
how
that
he
was
did
the
it.
case, he would have done some things to, I don't know, not have a beer
Had
belly.
better,
Um,
smaller pores.
or better posture. I don't fucking know. Anyways, but I did want to say just randomly, my newest symptom as of like 36 weeks, every week on the dot, there's a new symptom. And this one is I don't snore. Like I'm not a snorer. Sometimes I click, like I click in the night, but that's it. I know that sounded
Scary.
a little monster-esque.
Alien
But
predator.
yeah, which isn't wrong. But where's the lie? But I do think my latest thing is I've been waking myself and Brian and the dogs all up with one really loud snort. Like pig snort. Like out of nowhere, just like I can't even do it because I don't even know
Did
how
you hear
to do
that?
it.
Or did it block it out?
No, it blocked it out.
Oh yeah, blocked it
Zoom
out.
does not allow snorting on its recordings.
I can
But
just imagine though, envision
it's
the
so
Wow.
loud that Brian wakes up and laughs, and I wake up like so disoriented and out of it. And the dogs are like, "Is there an animal in here?"
You're
Like
probably
everyone
gasping
is
for air.
disturbed. Wow.
Like, you
Yeah, it
probably
must
can't
be.
breathe. That's I mean, if we
No,
really think
yeah.
about the physiological reason, like you're probably choking on your own
Yeah, like
snort-ish.
yeah.
Yeah, and it's a loud pig snort, like maybe 4 or 5 times a night. So, anyways, that's where I'm at. I'm
Wait,
in
you
my
4 snorts a night?
Yeah, I'm in my snort era.
I'm in my
for a
big
week,
boom
hopefully.
fart era, but
Oh
that's
yeah,
waking myself up with you snort, I wake myself up with a fart. But
yeah,
that's just
I've been
pregnancy.
there. Yeah,
That
pregnancy is
sounds
like Brian's on
Beautiful in every
the
way.
train.
Anyway,
Okay, sorry.
Anyway.
What's your news?
Okay. So for me, when I move into the summer season, I really go into like my family season and my nostalgic season. And that's the time where I'm really thinking about like my childhood and who I've grown into now. And I've been thinking so much about the Michael system, which is a system of archetypes that I grew up with. My stepdad was really into the Michael system. And it's really interesting. This is just something that I've like always known. And I didn't grow up with any form of like organized religion, like never went to church a day in my life. I really don't know very much about like the Bible stories or anything like that. But I did grow up with the Michael system always being something, a part of my family. Like literally we had a binder that had everyone in our family's readings. And I was the only one, even as a small child, like I would go through and I would reread it like maybe once or twice a year and reread everyone's thing. And I was always really interested in this archetypal system. but I didn't necessarily subscribe to it. Like I wasn't like, that's true, because it's a lot about reincarnation and like your past lives and things like that. And I actually was a pretty firm atheist, I thought, until, maybe like 19 years old. So like, even though I always was so drawn to talking about past lives and karma and things like that, I wasn't like, this is true. I more was like, is this true? And like, oh, it's, interesting to talk about. And it's so fascinating because Steffi, recently you were like, Dana, you're so drawn to archetypal systems. Like every time you talk, you're asking people about archetypes. I'm like, I am. And I had this kind of like light bulb moment that might seem really obvious to other people, but it just occurred to me so much that being fascinated in the Michael system and that being something that I grew up talking about constantly with everyone in my family, I feel like it really paved the way for the work that I do now and being into human design. And even the person who brought this into my life is my stepdad. And neither one of my biological parents are very spiritual. It was really my stepdad who brought this in, and his mom, who was very spiritual, who's like my step grandma. And she was Scottish, and she was called herself a witch my whole life growing up. She's like, I'm a witch. And so I just like really identified with my step family as my own family. And I was thinking for the first time about like, wow, I have this karmic relationship with my stepdad that like I chose him to be my stepdad so that I can learn this archetypal system and be talking about past lives from a really young age and be constantly like in that realm. And the way that it paved my path to be talking about human design now and be talking about soul purpose and the reason why you're incarnating and like these higher spiritual ideals. And when I say that it's a realization, like it like hit me all at once, it's kind of funny because it's like, yeah, of course, that's like my life story. But it just, for some reason, it really dawned on me. And I was in the pool with my cousin the other weekend, just on a visit. And I was talking about even my obsession with dolphins and whales. And part of the Michael system is talking about how dolphins and whales are these like sentient beings that are even more spiritual than humans and even more advanced and evolved emotionally than humans. It's like, wow, all of these things that I'm so drawn to, I thought I came up with on my own. And they were actually like this karmic thing in my family. And so like part of the Michael system, I mean, there's all these different areas, if you will. And it's this archetypal system that when someone reads your chart with it, it's actually like an intuitive channeling thing. So I wanted to share a bit about it here so people can hear which archetypes you resonate with. But if you did want to get your own reading, you can find someone who channels it, and you have to send them your picture, and they need to see a picture with your eyes really clearly, like not a blurry picture, because they look in your eyes. They also do look at your astrology chart, but it's not to match you with these archetypes. It's more to get like a portal into your energy. And then they can go in and channel this for you. And there's all these different like levels and layers. It can tell you how many lifetimes you've lived before this one. They can tell you what age level, like what, if you're a baby soul, a mature soul, an infant soul, or an old soul. They can tell you even if you've had more past lifetimes in a male body or a female body. And like a lot of times when you're an older soul, you choose the body gender that you spent the least amount of time in, that feels a little bit uncomfortable for you, to kind of like challenge yourself to get those good lessons there at the end. But also you have the main thing that I wanted to talk about now is you have these 7 universal archetypes and these like roles that you're here to play. And it's different than human design in that each soul has the same primary archetype they are in every single lifetime. And so you come back with different expressions of it from different angles, with completely new karma, with a different human design chart, a different astrology chart, but you're always fulfilling that same universal role. And there's only 7 of them, just like the 7 colors in the rainbow, the 7 musical notes. And then you can have, most people have that one that is consistent for them throughout lifetime, but then you can have at least one secondary role or even a third. So I wanted to share them here. I was really curious to hear from you two what you feel that you resonate with for your own soul. Of course, I already have some ideas, but okay, so I'll start with the 7 universal archetypes from the Michael system. First of all, I wanted to say that this system was channeled in the early 70s by a group of people in the Bay Area that my stepdad was friends with. And he like was really close with all these people. And they used a Ouija board to get the specifics, like the channeling. So right then and there, that's another thing, that this is like a channeled system from a higher voice, like a group of souls that have, are past their incarnation. They're off the wheel of incarnating. And I'm like, even human design being this like channeled system, that's so woo woo, but I literally like primed myself by choosing a family where that was just a normal thing. Yes. And I didn't think that was weird. But isn't that crazy that they used a Ouija board to get the details of things and ask questions?
Badass. I love it.
Okay. So going into the archetypes, the first one is the server. And these are people who are here to help others. Like, think of people who are here to be healers and doctors and nurses and coaches and therapists. And they have this like primary drive to inspire humanity. That's their main thing, but it is a lot more of like a cozy and intimate thing, like caring about people one-on-one and really wanting to make the world better by focusing on those like intimate and close connections and inspiring people and helping people heal in that way. And so I've always known from my family reading that I'm a server. And like, that's literally since I was 6 years old. They're like, your brother's a king and you're a server. And that sounded to me like I'm a servant to a king, which is not wrong, to be honest, in our power dynamic. But so interesting. So, and then the next one is an artisan. An artisan is someone who's here to create, like just as it sounds, like your art form is the main thing that you're here to explore every time you incarnate into a human body. And artisans are really driven by expression, being able to express that internal thing externally. And anyone that's an artisan, you can have more of like a masculine flavor or a yang flavor, or more of a feminine flavor or yin. So if you're an artisan and you have this masculine energy, it could be something like architecture, like building homes and working in construction, things like that, or even being like a scientist that's building a system. Or if you have this more feminine side as an artisan, then you are more like the traditional art forms like painting and poetry and dance and music and things like that. Shayna, I was actually thinking that Brian has a really strong artisan energy. I've always thought that because he's like so passionate about creativity and music and things like that. And then he's literally an architect. So it has more of like a masculine flavor where you went to school for architecture and works in construction.
Yeah. He's in that flavor,
realm,
that frequency.
Zone.
Yeah. He's not an architect, no, for anyone listening, like technical architect, but he did
go to school for architecture, didn't he?
Engineering, but which is like in the same frequency of like building.
To be fair, I always thought he was an architect as well.
Civil engineering, which isn't not architecture. I think it's like one of the stepping stones on the way to being an architect.
Okay, but it's in that avenue.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Okay,
but you ain't right.
So then there is the scholar. And scholars are here to learn, and they're fascinated. They want to know knowledge. So these are people who are constantly wanting to learn. A lot of scientists will be this, researchers. And these are people who can really struggle with having like a balance in their personal lives. Like their relationships kind of fall to the wayside because they're so hungry or even obsessive to learn something or to get to that next level or to find new discoveries. And I actually think that this is Jared's primary one. I actually think that he's a scholar, which is really interesting because he's a rock climbing guy who's not like a scientist or a researcher, but it's just the feeling that his soul is like always wanting to learn. And so you can have more than one, but I think that that's his main one. The next is the sage, who's here to entertain. And these are really social people. Both my mom and my stepdad are sages. So it's all about like the social dynamic and being a good conversationalist and wanting to develop life in that area. And they can be really funny or really entertaining. Like a lot of people who are writers who are sages. The low expression of it or the challenge can be that there are people who attract drama and also like they care a lot about their ego or like what other people think about them. But in the highest expression, these are people who are like philosophers and psychologists, and like human to human connection is something not guiding people or helping people, but just sort of like being able to express truth to humanity and in that human realm. The next one is a warrior, who's someone who's really here to achieve, and they're here to like fight for something, like this very action-based energy. And warriors can actually have a hard time in this day and age because we don't have that strong like warrior energy. Like you can join the military, obviously, or like the army, but even that, like there's not necessarily that same feeling of fighting for something. And then there's priest or priestess, which a lot of old souls will either have this as their main one or their secondary one, which I really resonate with this being my secondary one. Priests and priestesses are here to inspire people, but the collective, like they're really here to shift the consciousness of this planet. They're really here to like guide people towards something better. But once again, they can be sort of like isolated because they can be self-righteous and think that they're always right and that they're better than other people and that other people don't know as much as they do. So that can be the shadow there. And then the last one is the king or queen, which this is someone who's really here to lead, but it's in this very like authoritative, action driven, bold kind of way where it's like my way or the highway. And that's what I've always known that my brother is. Actually, both of my brother that passed away too, and they're both Leos. So it's so interesting to think about like your astrology chart can be in service to this higher role and that you can have these like other archetypes within it. But I definitely think that I'm a server here to help and really driven by inspiring people. And then my secondary one would be like a priest or a priestess. And then I think my third one would actually be scholar too, to learn. And I think that's why I'm so drawn to my husband's because we love like museum dates and learning. So I'm curious as I was going through them. I mean, obviously, I think that you both have really strong priestess energy, but I don't know if it would be like your first one or like your second one or even third one.
Can you just name the names really
quick? So there's the servers that are here to help and inspire people, help heal, but one-on-one. There's the artisans who are here to create. There's the scholars who are here to learn. There's the sages. That's a very social one that's kind of here to entertain and express themselves socially. There's the warrior who's here to achieve. A lot of warriors actually are entrepreneurs or startups. And it's like they're fighting for their mission and super, super driven, even in a way that can like leave other people behind in their life. Then there's the priest or priestess that's here to inspire and the collective and help lift the collective. Then there's the king and queen also here to lead, but in a very authoritative way.
Gosh, I mean, it's so hard for me to do self-assessment since I have no awareness centers and I'm G-center authority. So I love the idea of, getting a reading and having someone else tell me what I am. But yeah, Steffi, what resonates for you?
I mean, I think the server resonates for me whenever I do any of those little quizzes or like my Enneagram. It's always like, you're the helper, you're the server, you're here to be a light worker, you're here to heal. So that, but I also resonated with the sage a little bit too, the entertainment and wanting to like be really social and connect with people and all that. So I think those two. But I
totally,
love them all. My
especially
man Jen asks, I'm like, can I just do
I
all
would be a little
7?
bit of everything, even like with the sexual type, like which sexual type are you, sensual or kinky or whatever? You're literally the one that's all like the shapeshifter. Like I can't choose one.
Yeah, the only one I don't resonate with is warrior. I'm like, no, like
which I think that Shayna has some warrior.
I'm about to say Shayna.
I almost wonder if it's your first one, Shayna. I wonder that sometimes because you're such a fighter for like, and that's so natural for you. And then I think you have a really strong priestess energy. Both of you do. I think that you are
scholar too, Shayna.
Yeah, scholar.
I was gonna say, like just off the top of my head, warrior, priestess, and a little bit of the artisan. And maybe that's why I'm attracted to Brian. But the idea that you can create anything out of nothing, like I'm really into alchemy. I'm really into being able to take what you're given and totally make it whatever it is that you want that's going to serve you and propel you forward. So I really resonate with the artisan, but not in the way of like I'm creating art for the world, more of like I'm co-creating my life very actively. But in a physical way. But also more like energetic way too. So those three, I think.
You want to hear something crazy? I was thinking with Andrew that he might actually be a king, but in like the highest expression because he has such a like individual. So a lot of kings make like entrepreneurs and CEOs from a really young age. And it's like literally no one's going to tell me what to do. I'm going to create my own way, period. And it's not like the warrior is different because it's like fighting against odds and fighting against adversity. The king or queen is just like, this is what it is. And like they don't face a lot of like coming up against things. And so then I think like second, he would be like server, like something just really like caring about other people, all the things. But I think that he could have potentially have highest expression king energy,
King?
CEO energy.
Don't tell him that.
I love King Andrew.
No,
King Andrew.
Because he takes care of people.
King
He does.
Kunkel.
Yeah.
King Kunkel and his people.
Well, he called himself when he found out what Dasha he was for Ayurveda, Kapha. He called himself Kapha Daddy.
Yep. King Kapha
is.
Daddy.
Yeah, he's like very calm. I would say he's the
Right.
highest expression, but I will say if someone like pisses him off, he will definitely fight for that for sure.
Yeah.
Trolls people on the internet. Like he has a dark side for sure. Like, bro, let it go.
I always think it's so funny when people troll people on the internet. I've never done it. I've never written a bad review in my life. Not once.
Oh, Shayna, you wrote one for me on my behalf.
What did I win?
Remember when they served me cherries in my drink and I'm allergic?
Oh yeah, no. I've written bad reviews.
This is great to
I
lead
will
into
go
our next
on
segment too.
and write a bad review for something if they truly deserve it. But I'll also go on and write a good review. I try to keep it balanced. For every bad review I write, I go and I write a few good reviews. And sometimes I just go and I give love to a brand or a business that I'm like, they are doing it. And I can't tell you how much it makes my day when I do it, because 9 times out of 10, the CEO will come into the DM and be like, I'm actually the business owner. Thank you so much. Like, that was so kind and loving. You literally made my whole week. Like, let me know if you ever need anything. And I never like take advantage of that. I'm not doing it for that, but it's just like free to give love to people. Right. But then if they're shitty and they're fucking taking advantage of you and all the things, then I will leave you a bad review. But it's not ever going to be like, the service was bad. It's going to be like, no, you almost killed me and you deserve to,
like they have to earn it though. It's not a bad review just because you don't like them.
Yeah. I'm not trolling just to troll.
That's trolling. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he trolls to troll sometimes. Thank you, Dana, for bringing thank you for bringing that to us. It's really fascinating, and the fact that you grew up with it is so cool. So cool.
Mm-hmm.
Let's play a game.
Do you guys want to move into our next game segment real quick?
Yeah.
Yes. Get this going. Okay, because that was a perfect leeway. So I want to play the game Most Likely. Have you guys played this before?
I've never played it,
Most
but
likely, I'm just kidding. No.
I've never played it, but I've definitely voted for like superlatives before, like most likely to become famous, but I've never done it like in a game.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see like with 3 people how this will play out, but all of us are pretty honest with who we are
and self-aware. Yeah.
We'll call ourselves out if whatever. So we can vote for each other. We can vote for ourselves, or there can be 2 people who vote. So I got this from Teen Vogue. Shout out Teen Vogue. They gave me the Teen Vogue. Yeah, exactly. Like that's where that's the frequency.
That's the level that we're working with.
Exactly. Well, also too, I didn't want to be like biased because I know you guys so well. So I didn't want to put ones where I'm like, oh, this is so Dana or this is so Shayna. So I kind of like, I mean, there was like hundreds. So I kind of just picked like 25. Some of them I haven't read, some of them I have. Okay, so let's just go through these really quick. So who is most likely to survive alone on a desert island?
Me. For sure.
I was gonna say me.
I was gonna say Dana.
Oh,
wait, Shayna, what?
Well, I'm the warrior, bitches, but also
that's true.
I would survive way better if Dana was there for sure. Like I wouldn't eat a plant that's gonna poison
That's
me.
what I'm saying. Dana like is literally Earth Mama. Is like, oh, this plant will feed you.
Like
this will kill you.
Dana will
sheer
thrive on
sheer tenacity alone, Shayna.
Like I will survive, and like if I'm with other people, I'll make sure that they all live. But if Dana is there, everyone will thrive and be playing music and have flowers in their hair and like become mermaids.
Okay, so Dana wins. Also,
Dana's
I love that
thriving.
I wasn't even up for discussion.
I'm surviving.
Wasn't even.
Yeah, sorry, Steffi. Wait, I love that we're 3, so we get to vote, and then I just really like that. Like it can't be a tie. It's like
exactly. Okay, who is most likely to drop something on the floor and still eat it?
Steffi?
Me.
Steffi.
That was
definitely.
easy. I did that like literally seconds ago. Okay, who is most likely to think they're an expert after watching a single YouTube video?
Shayna. Shayna.
I have a little bit of this too, but yeah.
Wait, who did you vote, Steffi?
Shayna.
No, I
Oh,
agree.
bitch.
I agree. It's definitely me, but also Dana as well.
For sure.
I think
I'm a
all of us have.
2-4.
Well, my one line
Yeah.
though. I mean, the second I learn
Well,
something, I'm like, oh, I can do it.
but I feel like you would watch like a series of YouTube videos and like maybe 3 or 4 or like do some like deeper research. Like literally Shayna would watch that shit for 20 seconds on fast forward and then be like, got it.
And
Like, you know what I
also,
mean?
Dana can say like a thing to me that she read, and I'm like, let's teach a course on it. Done.
Yeah.
Like I
Yeah.
know it inside and out.
That's
But
true. Both of you have the flair.
yeah, and I
But
think it's
we're
the
talking
two-line
about like,
energy.
we're talking about quickness. For you, Steffi, you would be like, you really did
Thorough.
the research in the YouTube video and then you're like, boom.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But I
yeah.
do
But
vote.
that is it. Who would think they're an expert, not who is an
Yeah.
expert.
Well,
Who would
Dana,
If we're
think they're an
talking,
expert.
we did always call Dana Dr. Dana in college
that's
because
true.
that bitch would
Because of my defined
be your,
mind.
yeah, she would
That's
be your
true.
doctor. Like, oh, have you put honey on this? And it's like, then you research it and it's like, that's not a thing, but she heard it somewhere. And like,
Yeah,
Dr.
but
Dana to
you're
the
Gemini
rescue.
rising too with all the facts. Like you know
Yeah.
random facts about random shit too.
I definitely vote Shayna if we're voting.
Yeah, Shayna,
Yeah.
your vote.
But we
Okay,
all
take
have a
it.
little bit in
Who
there.
is most likely to fart in a full elevator?
Stephanie Ann.
I would
Just because I
never.
admitted I fart when I'm pregnant. Like before, I had like very bad gas problems before, like couldn't fart for forever. Before
Yeah,
this.
I mean,
You
I
too,
would
Shayna.
literally hold that in till it killed me dead on the floor, and then the gas released because I died.
Me too.
Okay, I guess I'm the most likely. I'm the most likely willing to admit I would. Okay, great. Um,
No, I'll own a fart. Don't get me wrong.
I
yeah.
won't. I'll die with shame first.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever done that, but yeah, I guess I would. I have 2 against 1. Okay, who is most likely to send food back at a restaurant?
Me?
Shayna.
Shayna, you and I are kind of tied for this one.
Yeah, I and Steffi. I mean, Steffi will do it with like boldly as she should. I'll do it like, oh my god, I'm sorry. Do you want my firstborn child in exchange for a hot? Like, I'll feel really
Wait,
bad.
Steffi will send back food for someone else. Like if I didn't like my food,
Yeah.
Steffi would be like, "Excuse me, she didn't like this."
Good
But
point.
for
Except for you.
herself, she can be more shy and like, "It's okay, I'll just do it." Whereas like Shayna, you'll do it no matter the circumstance.
Yeah.
That's true. Shayna,
I
I sent
know.
food back for you twice before.
Yeah,
Yes,
yep,
you
yep,
have.
yeah.
I do
like,
it boldly because I worked in a restaurant, so I'm like, hey, like this
yeah,
is just
that's
not.
true. You know good restaurant like lingo and etiquette.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Who is most likely to wear socks with sandals?
Oh,
Me,
Dana.
I think
yeah.
Dana.
I do that all the time. It feels amazing.
The ones
Depends
that
on
have
the
like
sandal.
the thongs, like or tongs?
No, like slides, sandals.
Okay,
Like, you
so I
know,
was
when you're
gonna
wearing
say that's
sweatpants.
diabolical. If you have to like
No.
wear socks and then
And you have to
separate them.
wedge it in
But
between
I
the
did,
toes.
I kept my socks from Japan that have a little toe split so that you can wear sandal, like thongs or whatever they call it.
Yeah.
Flip flops that goes through your toes.
Yeah.
Thong it up. And I kept those socks just for
Stop
in
doing
case.
this too. You keep spreading your fingers if
I
you're
like
watching.
how
It's
the
like,
word
you've
thong.
done that like several times. It's like almost graphic. Yeah,
Thong
stop
just
it.
means like something going in a crack.
Yeah, flossing
I
it.
never realized that. Like, so then is like tooth floss technically like a
A
thong?
thong, a tooth thong.
A tooth
I
thong.
love it. Okay, who is most likely to get married on a cruise ship? Probably me.
Yeah, I was gonna say Steffi for sure.
Where they have a ranch fountain on a
Yeah,
cruise.
I'm into that vibe.
Yeah.
Okay, who is most likely to have the lowest Uber rating? Ooh.
Oh,
This one I
like,
could probably even fact check.
wait, what does that mean? As a driver or as a
Passenger,
client?
you can
Like
you
they
have
rate
a-
you.
Yeah, you have the who
Oh.
has the lowest Uber rating.
I don't want to say Shayna.
I think Shayna.
Because I'm so vocal, like it's
Yeah.
disgusting in here.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
Literally the last Uber I took, Ubers are disgusting to me now.
Okay, so we
The
already
last
know-
the last Uber I took was at our baby moon, and the guy was driving an electric car, so he didn't want to expend any of the energy of the car, so he had no AC flowing, no music, nothing, because he wanted to save the charge. And so literally we get in there and it's just his breath the whole car is just his breath, like no airflow whatsoever. And I rolled down the window immediately. And I'm like, if I get COVID while pregnant, I know it's from this Uber. Like this shit is gross. And that was supposed to be like an Uber
Dang.
comfort. And it's like, there's no
Really?
regulations on that shit.
I don't even
But
have
I
Uber
didn't
on my
see
phone,
anything.
so I don't even have a rating.
After we wrap this, we'll all have to come back with like an Instagram story and share who won that. We'll see who has the lowest. I probably do. Okay, who is most likely to go a week without a shower?
Me, for
Oh.
sure.
I feel like all of us could probably have
Not me.
without a
I
shower.
Well, Dana at Burning Man.
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
about to say you're so festival girly.
Yeah, but that's like not a
I just
normal
hate
life.
getting
Like
wet. Like
Yeah, but
the-
you
my
do that
hair.
like multiple times a year. Not Burning Man, but like a festival.
that's true. But like day to day, like normal life, my hair gets greasy so fast I have to wash it more frequently.
Yeah, but I'll
So that's
go.
why
I'll go a while. Depends on how exhausted my projectorness is and how much I sweat. Because, like, I'm gonna go shower right after this. Because
But do you actually go without showering completely, or do you still wash your feet in the shower before bed?
I'll wash my feet in the shower, depending
So
on.
that
But that
counts.
depends on was I
And do you
barefoot
wash
at
your
all that
face?
day.
Because I don't even wash my face really ever.
Yeah, I kind of feel
Oh.
Steffi
I feel
could
like I
be the
would,
winner.
because I also
of
wouldn't wash
this.
my feet either. I'm like very barbaric in that way.
Oh, face
Yeah.
and feet for me.
Yeah,
Face,
see, I
feet,
don't
and
remember the last
sheets.
time I washed my face unless I was in the shower. Is that gross?
Oh,
I'm kind of
you
like
don't
bar
wash
soap
your
equivalent. Like
you don't wash your face every night?
no,
Wow,
is that
that's
gross?
I'm
no.
so
I don't think it's
shocked.
gross. I'm impressed.
I mean,
No,
I put
I'm just
moisturizer on in the morning, and then yeah, I guess I just sleep with it on. There's probably pounds of.
Oh, I would break out so bad if
I'm
I did that.
so shook right now. Wait, you know why though? Because you didn't have acne in high school really bad, right?
Yeah.
No,
Me and
I'm
Shayna
very lucky
did.
in that
So
way.
I've been washing my fucking face since I was 12 years old, like
Oh,
And I
morning,
never-
noon, night.
I had
never
butt
miss a night.
acne, and I've been vocal about that.
You have what?
Do you wash your butt
Butt
every
acne.
night? Just
No,
kidding.
and honestly, it's gotten worse. I've been to the dermatologist several times for like straight up cystic butt acne, and that's the only thing.
Oh,
Wow, that
Yeah.
sucks.
I haven't showed you before.
I
no,
don't
but
know.
I'd
I
love
don't
to
think
see.
so.
I'll spread those cheeks and show you.
I
Okay.
literally have been blackout drunk, still will wash my face no matter
Yeah.
what. Like,
for
Well,
sure.
if I'm
there's
wearing
nothing that could
makeup,
keep me
yes, I
away.
don't sleep with makeup, but I'll put like a wipe on it, and then sometimes I'll wash, sometimes I don't.
Oh no,
Yeah.
12-step
Wow.
routine wasted. It's gonna happen.
All right.
Anyways.
Who is most likely to have a pet ferret? Dana, for sure. I could see
Dana.
Dana coming home with one like tomorrow.
Because
Yeah.
you know that Jared had a pet ferret
Yes.
when he was in high school, and it was like his best friend, BFF for life. And
I could see you guys. You maybe should
ferrets
consider.
have best BFF energy. They really do.
yeah, his ferret was, you guys, literally his BFF, and it actually had a very tragic ending where it unfortunately got killed by a dog, and he like held it in his arms while it was dying. And literally, if he tells that story, he will cry tears, full stream tears,
As
to
he
this day.
should.
No,
If
I
he
know, but I
didn't,
mean,
I'd be like serial killer.
I
That's
know, but I mean,
the saddest
like,
thing I've ever heard.
I know. So anyways, I would get a ferret just to please him, and also please myself. But you know what's weird about me is I want like a bird so badly. And I was reading something about my astrology. I can't remember if it was my Leo moon. It was something Leo in my chart that was like, these people often want to have a bird as a pet.
Whoa.
And I was like, I'm on target for that. So, but I would have a ferret.
Parakeets are great. I had one growing up.
Oh.
Okay.
I didn't know that about you.
We're learning all kinds of stuff about you right now,
I
Steffi.
know. Who is most likely to get an embarrassing tattoo?
Oh.
Ooh.
Embarrassing?
Yeah, I know that's
I think I could do
interesting.
that.
Yeah,
I could
Dana's
get
on
an
the
embarrassing-
brink. Like, I don't
Yeah, I'm
think
on the
any of
brink.
us really, but like Dana,
If I was
if you
drunk,
had to
I probably
choose,
would.
Like, embarrassing for me is like I really wanted to get a tattoo that was in Sanskrit, and then I was like, is this cultural appropriation though? And Shayna was like, I don't know, it's walking the line. So for that reason, I vote myself.
yeah,
Thank you for, yeah.
you volunteer
That was
as
real.
tribute.
That was
Yeah,
honest.
thank
Yep.
you. That's
Yes.
exactly my pregnancy brain. I was like, what am I saying? You volunteered as tribute. Okay. Who is most likely to check an ex's Instagram? Ooh.
I want to say Shayna, but hide it secretly and not tell anyone, Scorpio
You're a
style.
and a Gemini rising.
I
mean,
When's the last
none of my
time? Well,
exes
let's be
have
honest.
Instagram
Well,
or
when's the last time you
social
did?
media.
They did.
Surveillance.
No, I feel like it's one of those things that like my friends will be like, let's look them up. And then I'll be like, okay. Like I want to say Emma, our best friend, because that bitch is the FBI girl.
Do you do that, Steffi? Do you check your
It's so
exes?
interesting because like
I do.
my Cancerian part of me is like they're dead to me. Every now and then I get a little bit of an urge to like see what they're up to, but it's probably once every couple years.
None of my exes are on social media really either. Like maybe they like have a Facebook, but it's like they haven't updated it in years. But I am curious sometimes, and I'm the same. Like when I've broken up with someone, I do not have a relationship with them anymore. And so I am just sometimes curious. Like I wonder what they're up to. I wonder if they've moved to a new country. I wonder, like I'm just kind of
it's only
curious.
certain exes for me too that were more like social media people. That in other exes, I'm like literally could not care less. But
and guaranteed all of our exes are like, those bitches went off the deep end into the woo-woo crazy shit. They're all witches.
About
now.
us?
Oh, yeah. For like for all three of us, like our exes are like, they're full-blown witches now.
I don't think any of my exes follow me though.
Oh yeah, you don't. You wouldn't probably think that they would, but maybe they are going and
you're so
looking at
public.
your
It's
shit.
That's weird to think
if
about.
Our exes are listening. Hey.
Imagine one of Steffi's exes watching The Circle and seeing her on Netflix.
That's crazy.
It was not anything to be. I mean, I was literally twerking on a skeleton. It wasn't like some profound thing.
Yeah, but that's
but
like,
I mean, still
something.
I did have someone from my elementary school and my middle school reach out. That
you
I haven't
did?
talked to in like 20 something years. Yeah.
And they're like, oh my gosh, I saw you on The Circle.
Yeah. Really sweet messages too.
Aww.
So who knows? Okay, but I'll vote myself because I kind of feel like I do it more frequently, maybe. Okay, who is most likely to not own a TV?
Dana.
Me.
That was easy.
I didn't have a TV for a long time.
I know. Who is
watching
most likely...
a movie with Dana is painful unless it's like a documentary. If it's a documentary, then she'll be like, "Ooh, adding this to the Defined Mind file."
Wait,
it's so
is true. I feel like I've only watched documentaries with you. I don't
but
think
if you
I've
try to watch
movies.
anything that's just pure entertainment, she's on her phone half the time, and then you look over at her to be like, "Oh my gosh, that was crazy!" And that bitch is either asleep or on her phone or literally in the bathroom, and you're like, "Wait, you left the room?" Like, no. And then at the end of it, she's like, "That movie was so good." I'm like, "You weren't even watching it, bitch." But if it's a documentary, Dana will be taking notes, and she'll be like,
how like
you're not
supposed to watch a show without your partner, but like me and Jared start something together and then I'm like, this has no value to my life. And so I just stop watching and then he keeps watching and then he watches the whole thing and I only watch the first episode. That's happened like 25 times.
That's never happened in my life. Not once.
Oh. Yeah.
So
Andrew will
crazy.
sometimes be like, I'm dipping. I'm out.
Yeah. Like this is not, I'm not learning from this experience.
Okay. Oh, Brian and I are like, we've already invested. Now we have to see it to completion. Even if it's impossible.
I'll dip out.
Hell no.
Okay. Who is most likely to join a cult? Oh, open-minders.
Oh, I was going to say Shayna immediately. Shayna.
Yeah.
Open-minders
for sure.
And open chart, like just so much openness. Open mind, but also like open everything else. No awareness centers.
I'm going to breeze through these because we got to get through. Okay, who's most likely to time travel?
Me.
Shayna.
Oh, Shayna for sure. Okay. Who is most likely to respond to a text message 3 weeks later? Dana.
Dana. For sure. Don't even look at the notifications on Dana's phone. She's got like 586 texts unread.
Leaving people on red for fucking years. Okay.
If I even see a red bubble on my phone, I get anxiety.
Same. Who is 3 weeks later? That is Dana. Who is most likely to travel to space?
Me. I've been there.
Shayna.
Yeah. Easy. Who is most likely to leave without saying goodbye? Ooh, Irish goodbye.
Oh.
Maybe me.
I want to say Steffi.
Never. I
want to say Steffi.
Yeah,
I think
I would
Steffi.
Irish goodbye for sure. Okay. Who is most likely to win at trivia?
Steffi.
No? I would maybe
Steffi.
What? Who do you think? You think me?
Yeah, I was gonna say Steffi.
Why?
Because
I know
like
nothing.
a lot of like stuff from movies and like
Movies,
80s
I would
songs,
movies, I would
and like you're
but,
such a game, like you're such a competitive
You're
game person.
competitive.
yeah, that's the Aries moon.
So I feel like you would win. I feel
We
like you
should
would.
do trivia sometime. I actually have
I'm
really bad anxiety with
horrible.
trivia. I feel like I'm an actual idiot.
It depends on the topic. It depends on the topic.
I
Like
played trivia
certain
with like Andrew, and he knows he's like so smart, and I could literally answer one thing about one celebrity,
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm not good.
Brian's so good at trivia.
Okay, maybe we'll
Jared's
play.
never played trivia a day in his life.
Yeah,
Definitely.
for sure, not Jared.
100% never played.
Okay, we already know this one too. Who is most likely to survive an alien abduction?
Me,
Shayna.
I'm
Shayna.
more
She
likely
would be
to
converted into their
commit
cult.
a
She would be
alien
converted into their
abduction.
cult.
Okay, how about who's
Exactly.
most? I'm just gonna add this one. Who's most likely to not survive? I feel like me.
Yeah, Steffi.
I don't want
You're
anyone
Steffi,
to
you
for
would be
sure.
like,
beat
I would
me
be
up.
like trying to go with it a little bit, but like having a secret
Aquarius.
plan inside. And then you, Steffi, would be like, no, bitch, like trying to set boundaries with them. And like the whole way, I feel like for that
No, I
circumstance.
think you're dead immediately. They're like,
Done.
that
Yeah,
ass,
you're
we
too-
need to explore that ass. And also,
Wait, they're exploring my ass?
yes,
God.
of course.
because they always probe your ass.
Yeah. And you have
What
a
the-
great ass.
You're
So
saying
I
I'm
bet
about
like,
to-
but like
about
you
to
would
be
die for
handled
sure
by-
because you'd be like, that was so traumatic, you could never come back. So then
It's
they'd be like,
Gator
okay,
shock, that's for sure.
you're dead.
Yeah,
But
you're
for
gator
me,
shock.
I would be converted and then I would be hosting the abductions and choosing who's getting abducted in the future.
And giving them a gift bag with like really expensive crystals in it.
and teaching them how to do even better abductions that are more loving.
After my death, you set up on.
Yeah.
That's your hero arc. Okay, who is most likely to plan the entire group vacation?
Steffi.
Well,
That's
only
both of
because I
us.
planned it that one time for Japan, but I feel like otherwise it would be Shayna.
Oh, I was gonna say, Steffi, just your one line. Like
Yeah.
Shayna will like initiate the trip and book the tickets, but she won't plan like every moment of like what we're doing and like do research on the restaurants and like things like that. Am I right, Shayna?
Yes, I think you're right. I mean, depends on
Like
the trip.
Steffi, I feel
Well,
like
she's
you
got
would
that
like.
Capricorn 9th house that will
I know.
do the research beforehand. But I
She-
will say I was looking up like I figured out like the museums and the tea house and things like that.
I vote
I'm
for
more
Steffi.
like
You
activity
guys are
based.
kind of close. You guys are close. Tied.
Close. Okay, who is most likely to avoid conflict? Dana.
Avoid
I think
conflict.
Dana.
Dana for
For
sure.
sure.
Keep the peace.
You definitely play
Peacemaker.
2-4 server.
I will not. I will definitely go for it. So will you, Shayna.
Yeah, you guys
You
like
even more.
fighting. You
my
two
Aries moon
enjoy
and
it.
Scorpio.
It's
Yeah,
a
and
little
you're
too
Scorpio.
peaceful around
Can
here.
I ask around Shayna's chart? Like literally not a fire element to be found in her whole chart. Why is she so fiery then?
Her
I was thinking
Scorpio
about that today.
like speaks on convictions, but her Gemini rising is very much vocalization of her
I know, but
thoughts.
where's the fire? Where's the
don't know.
spice?
You
The
don't have any fire,
warrior.
do you? Do you
It's
have
so
any fire in your
interesting.
chart?
No, she has like none.
Yeah.
It's so crazy. Even in her Vedic astrology, I'm like, it's got to be in her Vedic. Still none. She's like
See,
Earth
I have
energy.
3 planets in fire signs.
Yeah,
2 in
that
Sag
makes
and 1 in
sense.
Aries. Yeah. Okay. Few more. Who is most likely to fall asleep first? Projectors.
Me?
Dana.
Dana.
For sure.
Okay. Who is most
Arm
likely
up.
to go skydiving? Have either gone skydiving?
I've gone.
Shayna has.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess Shayna. But I feel like Dana, you'd be open to it, right?
Nope.
No.
No? Oh, okay.
Too
Past
scared.
life trauma?
The plane's too small.
Oh, yeah. For me, it's like I'm tired in this lifetime. I don't need to do anything crazy like that. Like I'm just
For me,
not.
I'm like, I could die. Who cares? Like,
Okay.
life ain't that serious.
Yeah.
On to the next.
Life ain't that serious. I'll die. What?
Yeah, like I just feel like I've lived so many lives that I'm just like
But
whatever.
that's same with me. I've lived so many lives. I'm tired. I don't need to go up in an airplane. Like that's
Oh,
Yeah.
and see, I feel like I've lived so many lives, like nothing means anything.
I'm
But
just not an adrenaline junkie. I'm really
Yeah.
not. I'm a new
Yeah, me neither.
experience junkie, but I like beautiful, like easy, fun experiences, not like that was fucking crazy experiences.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, 2 more or 3 more. Who is most likely to research their ancestry? Ooh, have any of you
I
researched?
mean, I have.
I have 2.
I have
It's
3.
it's your Cancer moon and my Cancer placements, like all about learning about your history. But I feel like
I
you
feel
would
like
be
all of
more
us.
organized about it. Yeah, we could do all three.
Yeah,
Great.
that's a triple tie.
Yeah, because all of us are interested in that. Like, yeah. Okay, who is most likely to talk to an animal? Dana.
The eye roll and then the of
Well,
course.
it's like it's so obvious.
I
You
was
literally
thinking
talked
me
about how
too,
you like
though.
Oh, I
but
literally talked about that lesson.
telepathically. You talk to animals all the
Oh
time.
yeah, for
No,
sure.
that's actually really true. And Shayna's like more of a plant talker
Yeah, I've had
than an
many
animal. You've had a lot of
conversations
plant
with
And I'm
talking,
more of a ranch dressing
And-
sorcerer.
or like dead people.
Or yeah,
Oh yeah,
or I talk to some people.
like
We all have our
literally.
gifts.
Oh my god, this was a really long episode.
Yeah, I don't
but
even know what time we started.
me neither. But I do know that we're releasing only one of these over the summer, we think, because of baby girl being here. So if you needed to pause this and come back to it in a month, great. Nice to talk to you again. Or if you made it all the way to the end because you're a real one, we fucking love you. We are you. We see you.
Thank you for tuning in. We love you. Spirit Sis, where can people find you and connect with your offerings?
Yes, you can find me spiritsis.com, on Instagram at spirit_sis, and Spirit Sis on the TikTok.
Tiki-taki. And for us, DayLuna, you can find us on our website, daylunalife.com. That's where you can find all of our different offerings, including our membership, Your Human Design Besties, which is a monthly space where you can come together, learn about human design, have live ceremonies, live Q&As virtually. It's a really fun space. You can also check out our reader training, our book, everything on our website, daylunalife.com. And you can follow us on Instagram at DayLuna.
We love you. Thank you for tuning in with us today. If you like this video, be sure to like and subscribe to follow along and learn more about human design.